It should be a reality check. If your life looks like everybody else's around you and you claim to be a believer, and let me just say, like, if you're sensitive, just know, like, some of the stuff we're going to talk about in here might offend you. Like,
it will.
Yeah. Keep me from people who ain't got no reverence for you, and I swear that'll make me a better man. Got no conviction, so why would I listen to people who blind us where that is?
Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Counterculture Podcast. This is episode 1. Honestly, I am super excited. So we tried to start a podcast last year, us three, and due to it not being up to par as far as quality, we did not release it. And so with this year, we took extra measure to ensure that quality, lighting, audio, cameras, everything was top-notch quality to be able to provide you guys with an incredible experience. So, with that being said, with that being said, my name is Eli Christensen, and really we're just going to do some icebreakers today. We're just going to introduce ourselves. That way, if you don't know us, you can get to know us and then talk about the vision for the pod.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Man. So yeah, I can start. Like I said, my name is Eli. I am 22 years old, about to turn 23. I don't know, maybe I'll be 23 when this releases, actually. Turning 23 in a couple of weeks, January 14th. Currently, I am married to an amazing woman. I have one son for now. We'll leave it at that. I have one son for now. And I'm a follower of Jesus, first and foremost. That's the most important title that I have. I am covered by his blood. As far as what I do for work, I work in finance right now. So I'm in consumer lending. Back in the day, they called them loan officers. My title is account executive. So kind of a sales position. I'm heavily commission based, which has been good to kind of learn that industry and how to be good at sales and things like that. I also own a clothing brand. Shout out Uncertified. We got the logo up there. Actually, we're all representing right now.
Yes, sir.
This hoodie just dropped. That has not dropped yet. And then that was our fall collection. I own a clothing brand. A little bit over a year ago, I started that. And it's just been going super, super well. So excited to continue to grow that in 2024. In 2024, obviously, we're doing a podcast, but I'm also starting a paid community, which isn't going to be like necessarily directly tied to the podcast, but it is called the Counterculture Club. It's going to be a paid community that helps men reach their max potential spiritually, physically, and financially. And so it's one of those things, if you want to get more in depth than just listening to us here on the podcast, you can join this paid community and have access to resources, experts, courses, and community and accountability to help you reach those goals and fast track your growth to become the man God created you to be. So excited to launch that in 2024 as well. I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. I work out. I'm an influencer on social media. Been doing that for a few years now. But besides that, nothing else too crazy. I'm involved in my church. I lead a small group at youth group. I serve in the local church, and I love being active. Sports. I grew up being a hooper, traveling the country playing basketball. So that's a little bit about me. Love fashion, love working out, and I love making money too. So
that's awesome.
I don't love money though. I don't love money necessarily, but I love what money can do for others. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Colby. I am 22 years old. And I'm super excited actually to be here on this podcast with these three guys. My personality is a little bit more laid back, but at the same time, I like to dig into the details. I'm a business owner. I manage finance and operations at a company that I work for currently. And that company is a home building company. So I started in real estate when I was about 18, 19 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I started young, learned a lot of it on the fly, YouTube. My father-in-law helped me with some in the weeds construction type stuff. Flipped my first duplex when I was 18 years old and kind of just spiraled out from there. And I now own a house in Cumming that I built from scratch. And my goal with all this real estate stuff is to eventually be my own business owner, start multiple businesses. I really like sales and marketing, scalability, all that kind of stuff. And so with this podcast, my hope is to share a lot of my information that I've learned along the way with all of you guys and hopefully bring some value that way. I'm also married and I have a kid on the way. So I cannot wait for that. It's going to be an awesome
Congrats.
dad life here. And my faith also, most important to me. I also share in my youth group. I have a small group that I lead on Wednesday nights at Soteria Church in West Des Moines. So that's something I'm really passionate about. Love my guys there, and super excited for maybe them to listen to. So that's pretty much my life.
The bro did not mention that he is like a absolute superstar when it comes to music. We'll just
I haven't released anything for a while, but
very
now
talented
and then,
when it comes to
hey, I appreciate
music.
that.
Very gifted.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah. So my name's Mitch. I'm 22 as well. Married. Been married for about 1.5 years now.
Let's go.
And no kids on the way yet. No, odd man out here.
Pause.
practicing,
He's
just
pausing.
practicing.
Just practicing right now.
Yeah, just practicing.
As any Minio would say. Right now, I'm just practicing.
Just practicing.
Yes, sir.
So I work at a car dealership, Dewey Dodge here in Ankeny.
Let's go.
I couldn't care less about it though because my real passion,
I love it.
my real passion is music. That's kind of my niche, the thing I'm all about since I was a kid. Music, I love it. I've made music. I started releasing music sophomore year high school, so it's been about 7 years now. So, but then consistent.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I didn't really consistently, start pursuing it as a passion until probably after high school.
Okay.
So like as soon as I got into college. So 3 years now, probably 3 years.
Yeah.
So I've released 2 albums in that span.
Mm-hmm.
Working on releasing a song a month right now. So just trying to pursue that as a passion and make that my career, hopefully, so I can stop working on things I don't care about. And
Escape the 9 to 5.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So Colby was actually my first producer.
Yeah, that's right.
We created my first album, Commencement. If any of you've listened to that. So yeah, he's super talented. He makes some killer music.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Like he'll just send us music over
Yeah.
text. It's like, hey, what do you think of this? And I'm like, bro, this sounds like a song that just like is on the radio like every day.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
So that's pretty much about me. Believer as well. I mean that goes without saying. This is a faith-based podcast, and we are all Christians and followers of Jesus. And so I'm invested into church here in Ankeny, and I don't know what. I love movies. I love movies and
That's a movie
anything.
connoisseur.
I'm a movie connoisseur, film critic, and
He actually had a YouTube, Mitch TV. Go check it out. That died.
coming soon.
It died.
Coming soon again. Revamped, maybe.
Yeah, we still gotta watch some movies at my theater too.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, we'll
Absolutely.
come to
Your favorite
theater.
movies?
Yeah, but I love all things just content and popular things in culture, and so that fits well because that's a lot of what this podcast is going to be about.
Yeah, that's dope. So like obviously y'all can see there's some similarities here. We all have kind of different niches. I don't ever know how to say that word, if you will. But yeah, like just to be raw with you guys, we don't have everything figured out. We're not perfect, but we are young, driven individuals whose first and foremost greatest desire is to follow Jesus in everything we do, and make an impact. Like we believe that we were put on this earth for purpose, on purpose. And so we want to make sure that we are living our life to its max potential. Right. And that's what the community is about, right? Like reaching your max potential in all that we do. Because God doesn't want us to do all of this like half-heartedly. He's like, man, I gave you these talents. I gave you these resources. I gave you all of these things, these opportunities. I want you to make the most of it. And so, you're probably wondering like, okay, well then what's the overall vibe of the podcast? Like, what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah.
And that's a really good question. And so we're going to kind of run through that. I'll just touch on some things that I feel like we're going to talk about, and then you guys can fill in. Counterculture podcast. I obviously started a clothing brand, Uncertified, and one of our taglines is countercultural, which is kind of where this was birthed from. And a lot of people ask like, what is counterculture? And the best way that I can explain it is in Romans. God says this. He says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may test and approve what is good, or what is God's
Perfect will.
perfect, yeah, pleasing and perfect will. And so really like what God calls us to, the life that we're supposed to be living, is way different than what the world should look like. And I think it should be a reality check. If your life looks like everybody else's around you and you claim to be a believer, I really think you should step back and look in the mirror and be like, who am I reflecting? Am I reflecting the world or am I reflecting Jesus? And so in this podcast, we're going to be talking about hot topics, right? Like whether it's relationships, right? Like whether it's how to handle finances, how to handle conflict, like all these different things that are showing up in the industries that people have strong opinions on. And at the end of the day, God also has things to say on these topics. And so we're going to be putting God's perspective on these hot topics that are arising in culture, and talking about them, giving you our perspective, because really God calls us to a different life than others. But what he calls us to is what's best for us. It's not for our harm. It's for our good. And so I don't know. That's kind of like a general, vague overview. I don't know. What do you guys have to add?
Yeah, like one thing I always think of is like goals. That's a big buzzword, obviously, especially since we're in the new year now, 2024. Really exciting
Happy
to
New
talk
Year.
about.
Yeah, today's literally
dude.
New
Yeah,
Year.
it's crazy. 2024. Goals is a big word, but obviously when we're talking about the gospel, how do goals play into the gospel? Goals in the gospel, right?
Yeah.
Because goals is works based. The gospel is obviously faith based.
Yeah.
How do those two ideas play into to each other? And I think that's something throughout the year we're going to be talking about is how do we work towards something while at the same time recognizing that everything we have is by the grace of God.
Dang, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with, like, once again, there's nothing wrong with pursuing these goals and these dreams that God has given you, right? As long as God is the one who is getting the glory and you're not doing it for self-glorification, you're not doing it in vain, God can use any passion, any talent that you have for his kingdom. So, yeah, that's fire.
And we know that you guys could go to any other podcast to get biblical and spiritual advice from people that are way more qualified than us, like actual pastors and everything. So we don't want to claim that we have the authoritative view and everything that we say is going to be 100% correct.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be things that we are going to say that's wrong.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're still way young. So, but the thing that I think is unique about us is that we are immersed in culture, being our age, and yet we're living countercultural lives.
Yeah.
No one else is. I mean, it's so different from the world that we're 22, 23, married with kids already.
Been married. All of us been married well over a year.
Yeah,
Us over 2 years.
2.5.
I got married when I was 19.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was 20.
I think
Or
I was
20.
19.
Yeah, 20. Sorry.
Yeah, you were 20. I was 21.
I was
21.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Crazy, yeah.
So we have radically different lives in comparison to the majority of the world.
Yep.
And I want to just be able to review and talk about topics that are popular in culture that may arise, throughout the months, and each episode might be a little bit different, but maybe something super popular that's happening in culture, like on social media or something like that, for us to be able to review that from a countercultural biblical perspective, bring some scripture into that, and just for you guys to be able to feel like you can just hang out with us and not, we're not going to just like sit here and just like, open the Bible and lecture you guys
Or read
on
off a
it.
script.
Read off a script. This is just going to be like super chill, hang out, and just like, if you guys want to listen to what are the things that kids, guys our age should be thinking about when reviewing these topics in culture, or just immersed in it already.
Yeah, no, you're hitting it on the head. And I think two important distinctions. We are obviously a faith-based podcast. We are not going to sit here and open the Bible and read it to you. Like, that's not bad. There are other podcasts for that.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not us. And so, like, what we're going to do, right, is like, hey, did you wait to have sex before marriage? Most of culture doesn't, right? God tells us that we should wait and abstain from all sexual immorality before we are married, right? And so it's like, why did you wait to have sex before marriage? What are there statistics behind it? Is that good for you? Is that bad for you? Right? Like all these different things, working a 9 to 5, being conformed to, a boss's hours. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's bad, but we're just going to be providing you different perspectives that we've seen, in our lives, we've seen in other people's lives that we, have been mentored by, that hopefully just provide you another lens to look at the world through. Like that's just what I hope. Like I hope when you listen to this, guys, we're gonna be talking about faith, we're gonna be talking about fitness, and we're gonna be talking about finances. Like those are some of the hot topics that we're gonna be talking about. You know, we're gonna be talking about music, right? What type of music should you be listening to? What type of movies
music.
should you be listening? Yeah, Mitch's music. Yeah, the intro of this video, you know, shout out Mitch, and that's one of his songs that he released recently.
Check out the music.
But you know, we're offering these different perspectives on some of these topics that to culture, like it's just no brainers. Like there's obvious answers. You know, people go out and they party all the time and they drink, and they sleep with multiple women and they have one night stands. Like, man, we're gonna be offering different perspectives on some of those topics that I hope really challenge you.
Yeah.
And on top of scripture, trust me, we're gonna be bringing statistics. We're gonna be bringing in, you know, quantitative evidence. We're gonna be bringing in, you know, testimonials. We're gonna be bringing in a lot of cool stuff that's gonna give you guys something to chew on. You know, not just our opinions. I mean, like we said, we're young. We're 22. We don't have a ton of life experience, but we've been intentional into growing in these areas and really seeking out people who are wise, who are experts, you know, who are well versed in these areas, to kind of, you know, educate ourselves. And not be experts, but just be competent in these areas so we can provide, you know, those perspectives.
We want to make sure that when we're bringing authoritative information, that it's less of our opinion as possible and more of scripture or people that are smarter than us.
And experiences.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But this is going to be like, I want it to be entertaining. And then, you know, it could be... you know, we'll review videos that are popular in culture.
Yeah, videos that'll come out. I mean, like I think of, you know, there's so many things that come out. You know, whether we're talking about something that was brought up on another podcast, you know, on the Joe Rogan podcast, or whether it was something Andrew Tate said, you know, and it was on the George Janko show, right? Should we talk about that? Something Demi Lovato said about why she stopped going to church, right? And some experiences she had. Like we're going to be talking about a whole, you know, wide variety of topics that and let me just say, like, if you're sensitive, just know, like, some of the stuff we're going to talk about in here might offend you. Like
it will.
Yeah, it will offend you. Like I'm not scared to say that. We're not going to hop on here to be the most controversial podcast in 2024. But for sure what we say might be controversial, will be controversial. And I really just hope that you guys know it's from a place of love, man. Like God is so good to us, and we just want to be able to show you guys what God has for you. And it's way better than what this world offers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Way better than what
One
this
cool
world
thing
offers.
I think about this podcast is it's almost like paradoxical because we're bringing in relevant topics.
Yeah.
And also we're called the Counterculture Podcast, right? And so we're going to be looking at these relevant topics, but we're going to spin it in a way that, like, hey, how should we actually be viewing this topic or genre, and how should we handle these relevant things that are going on in our world, right? So I think that's a really cool perspective that we're going to bring that not a lot of people are probably going to be talking about.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's really good. I think too, we're going to open it up to your guys' opinions as well. So we're going to be doing some polls, asking you guys maybe what topics you want us to cover, right? Like whether it is relationships, right? Like a lot of people get shocked. Like when I'm at work, people are like, "You're married?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know, I've been married over 2 years. I have a kid." And they're like, "You have a kid?" So like people get shocked by this stuff. I'm sure you guys get the same things. They're like, "You don't look like you're past middle school." And I'm like, "Well, thanks." So, you know, there's just a lot of things. So whether you guys want to talk about relationships, and maybe, you know, why we decided to get married so young, or, you know, if you guys want to talk about finances or our journeys in finding what we're passionate about, there's going to be so much that we're going to love to talk to you guys about. So we're going to open up some polls, and you guys can, you know, give us some feedback on what are some relevant topics, what are some things that have happened recently in culture, maybe some controversial things that have came up, you know, in the Christian space, in the secular space that you guys want us to address.
And if you have questions or comments, well, we'd love to answer them live here on the podcast too.
For sure.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Shoot, I don't know if I have anything else.
Yeah, I mean that covers it, I think.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Mission statement.
Yeah. So our goal, just to kind of give you guys like expectations, we're gonna be releasing a minimum of 1 podcast a month for the year.
Yep.
Our goal is to do 2. We just are gonna promise 1. That way, if we're not able to execute 2, you know, we're sticking to what we promised. So we're going to for sure be doing 1 a month in 2024. Our first one is going to obviously be this one that is released in January. And then hopefully just, as traction grows, as we're able to expand our audience, you know, we're able to do cooler things. Maybe even have some guests on the podcast. You know, who knows? Maybe fly out to Romania and have. No, I'm just
Absolutely.
kidding. But no, seriously, we're hoping for God to do some big things through this podcast.
Yeah.
So, all right, man.
Let's do
We will
it.
see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks for
and
tuning in.
yeah, thanks for tuning
See
in.
you soon.